Hello, it's Caroline from Sante Women's Coaching. Today we have a Mermaid Flow. I just happen to love mermaids. I don't know why, I just do. So I felt like doing something that was going to be really flowing and fluid, and you notice I even kept my hair down today. For this practice, you'll just want maybe some blocks, but we're not doing weights, we're not doing anything like that. We're really focusing on moving. So as we're moving, listen carefully to all of the recommendations or suggestions, because they will help you to keep it safe so that as you're going through your practice, it will become much more organic for you. So never try to make it look like mine. I might fully express something that you might not want to fully express. We'll be varying, we'll be at different levels of poses. But just remember that we're always going for the idea behind the pose. We're not going for the pose itself. So as we're moving through, listen to what I'm encouraging you to get from your pose and focus on that, and know that you're successful if you just get out of it what you need and want to get out of your sequence and out of your pose. Okay? All right, so to start, I've got 2 blocks here, and I do like to use cork blocks for a lot of these aids, simply because with a cork block it's strong enough that I can actually put myself on it and know that I'm not going to hurt it. Foam blocks are really good though for sitting on and such. I do have foam blocks as well, but for now I'm going to go ahead and grab it and sit on it. So I just like to start whenever we're starting with our breathing practices. I like to start on a block seated, or I've got some blankets here, you could do that. The idea is just to elevate your hips above your knees. So we're just trying to keep a natural curve in the spine so that we can stay healthy and well no matter where we're seated or how we're seated or why. Anyway, so we are sitting. We're going to ground those sits bones. Those are just the two bony points at the base of the hips, at the base of the spine. We're pressing those down into our block or the floor, and then allowing for the natural, gentle S curve to happen in our spine. So when we do that, we're going to soften the hips, soften the legs, soften the knees, press those hips down into the floor, pulling up from the pelvic floor on our exhale and in all the way around. We're trying to squeeze those muscles up and in around the spine. And then you'll notice that it even lifts up into the rib cage. And when we do that, when we pull those muscles, the abdominal muscles up and into the rib cage, into that diaphragm, it's incredible because it automatically lifts your rib cage up, which brings and lifts your shoulders up and back. And then your head aligns directly above your hips. And we're just going to wave it from side to side just for a moment. Part of that mermaid flow sort of vibe is going to be a lot of movement, because if you can imagine that we're doing this in water, that will kind of help you get into the motion of what we're doing. And then we're going to try inhaling and exhaling a little bit here. So you're going to inhale really big. Let all those muscles just go big and wide. And I know it's not a beautiful thing, but don't worry. Nobody can see you. And then we're going to exhale it. So we're going to tighten those pelvic floor muscles, the glutes and the pelvic floor. Think of doing Kegels and really pull up and in. And then that will continue. The muscles will continue up and in and around the belly button and the back. And then it continues up into the rib cage. All on one exhale. And then again you inhale and let it all open up. And it just kind of goes up. I always think of a balloon filling. But then on that exhale, you're squeezing it all back out. So by doing this, not only are we getting into our overall flow and movement pattern, we are also really toning and strengthening all of those abdominal muscles, which are built to hold the spine in place and to breathe. And it's an amazing thing, but that's what they're built to do. So we're actually using them very effectively when we're just inhaling and then exhaling. And I like to throw the exhale into the mouth so that I can really hear it. One more time, inhaling. And then exhaling. All right. Again, we're going to start shifting from side to side. So we're kind of snaking up the spine up towards our head. This just helps to relax and rejuvenate the spine. And then we're going to gently include the arms into that movement. So as we shift to one side, we lead or guide it with the elbow on that arm and then out. The hand is the last thing to lift. Our elbow up and then the hand is last. Both sides. This I actually learned in belly dance class a long time ago, called snake arms. And it just moves. And the beautiful thing about this is the stronger you get, the more that you can actually guide that movement with your muscles. So it's never in the joints, it's always in the muscles. All right, slowly come back to center, let the hands just rest for a minute. And if you like, you can walk those hands gently forward, again shifting from side to side, just to make sure that we don't compress our spine. This allows us to pull our spine long so that we're actually lengthening the space between the vertebra and the back. And then we're going to walk those hands back, try to maintain the length that you just got into that spine. And then from here, we're going to come onto hands and knees. So with lots of movement, you're going to shift those hips from side to side, allowing the elbows to soften, because now we have our hands and our knees and feet on the floor. So we want our elbows to be nice and soft. We want our wrists soft. We want our hips to be able to shift and move. And I've got my toes turned under, but if you like, you can always have the feet flat. It just kind of depends on what works better for your feet and your ankles and calves. So I'm shifting from side to side, and then I'm going to start shifting it up towards the sky into my cat-cow, and I'm lifting it up, and then I'm allowing the stomach to come back to neutral, and then I'm going to lift the spine up, really inhaling, pressing the back up, and you'll notice it's more in the upper back than it is the lower back, and then I lower it down. A lot of times we'll try to let the stomach really go down, and that just puts too much pressure, compression in that lower back. We don't need to do that. Just let it go to neutral and let it feel good. We're going to do it again, the arching up to the sky, and when we do that, we're going to guide it from starting by bringing our hands down into the ground, really pressing into the floor. The elbows come down, and then we lift up into that cat, almost straightening the arms, avoiding overly straightening, avoiding any kind of locking in our joints. And then we can come back down into neutral. The hips might pop up slightly, and that's okay. One more time up. And then we're going to step or walk our knees slightly further back so that we can bring the movement forward. So we were going up and down, side to side. Now we're going to bring it forward into a half plank, and then we're going to shift it gently back by coming into that cat and then coming towards our heels, towards a child's pose, and then we're going to shoot the motion forward. And again, you'll notice that as you're doing this, since you're softening the joints the whole time, it is a movement like you'd feel if you were in water. And that's what we're trying to mimic. We're trying to get the joints lubricated as though we were swimming in water. And then play with it. You don't have to look exactly like mine. You can shift it a little bit here and there. As long as you are allowing the joints to shift and move and stay soft, then you're going to be safe. Move the joints. Make the movement happen with the muscles, so that's the key. We don't make the joints do the movement. It's the muscles that move the joints in place. Now let's try to lift it up even further. So we're going to bring it forward, up into our half plank. I want you to bring it back into child's pose, and then notice how I snake it almost forward. So I'm staying low to the ground with my elbows, with my chest, and then I bring it forward and I lift up. Always avoiding having a 90-degree angle in the wrist, because for most of us it's uncomfortable. So we want to move to comfort. We don't want to be uncomfortable in our joints. So from here, we're going to turn our toes under if they weren't already. We're going to lift and hover those knees up above the floor, and then gently lift the hips by unfolding the legs up. Every time you inhale and exhale, keep in mind the breathing style, the breathing practices that we did at the beginning, and we want to be doing that same inhaling, exhaling, the same muscular work that we did at the beginning, no matter what position our body is in. So here I'm walking my legs out, just working and warming up those calves. My head is hanging out here. I'm not forcing it down towards the ground. I'm not lifting it up high either. And I'm keeping my joints, my elbows and my wrists soft. And then I'm going to bend my knees and gently move my hips and tilt my hips over to one side. The feet point the other direction. And then I'm going to shift it forward with the weight. And now I'm going to bring the weight back down towards my heels on the other side. Back and forth. Working within your strength and ability. So if that's too much for you today, keep the knees down and then just shift. So you're still getting that same delicious side bend. You're just not putting quite so much work into your upper body. Then from here, I'm going to look towards my hands. I'm going to bring the movement forward by waving the body forward on an exhale. And then make sure that my plank stays loose. So I'm in a full plank, but it's nice and loose. My elbows are slightly bent or soft. My knees are able to move. I'm going to lower my knees, and I'm going to lift my right hand up. So my weight comes back towards my lower body, and then my right arm just lifts up. And I'm going to sweep it up and over. And I'll do the same thing with the other side. So my left hand is going to sweep back behind, and then up and over. One more time each side. But each time I'm going to bring my weight back towards my heels so that my single arm that's on the floor does not get overworked. And then I'm going to shift the weight again forward into a half plank, bending the elbows. I'm going to lower down until the elbows touch the sides of my rib cage, and then lower the hips, lower the stomach, lower the chest, lift the arms. Always protecting the amazing joint in the shoulders, the amazing elbows. They're built for movement, not for strength, so we want to make sure that we never push them beyond their capacity. So let's go ahead and interlace the fingers back behind, roll the shoulders up and back, lift the head up a little bit. If you can even lift the feet slightly off the floor and just swim with those legs. And then lower back down. Now we're going to lift up. And this is where a lot of people have issues or challenges. So the key to lifting up isn't to think necessarily of lifting up as much as think more of pushing away. So we're going to take our hands, we're going to put them down to the base of our rib cage, roll the shoulders up on our back, lift the chest off the floor. So already your shoulders should be at the same height as your elbows or above. Then from there, you press your knees down. That will lift your hips slightly. Pull that stomach up and in to protect your lower back, and then start pressing away. So you're able to use the muscles the way they're designed to be used, and then it's easy to lift yourself back into your child's pose. All right, so from here we're going to move our right foot. So we're going to bring our right foot forward in between the hands. I want you to place your left hand to the side on the ground. And then we're going to just turn gently in towards the right leg. The right arm is going to sweep behind and up and around, just like we did before. One more of those. And then we'll bring that leg back. Come down into child's pose, wriggle around a little bit here. Bring the left foot forward. Same thing on the other side. So now the left hand is going to sweep back, up, and around. If you try to sweep forward first, you can put too much pressure on the shoulder joint. So that's why we want to kind of sweep back first. That moves the shoulder blade out of the way, and it just feels a lot better on the shoulder. I'm really picky about my shoulders because for years I had what I thought were wonky shoulders. It turned out it was just what I was doing was incorrect. So now I'm a lot more careful. So from here we're going to turn the back toes under. We're going to lift that back knee. And then we're going to bring our left hand inside the left foot. And we're actually going to gently walk along the floor so that we can come towards the long side of our mat. So in my case, I'm coming to the right side just so that I can face the camera, but you know, it's entirely dependent on where you are, which side you want to face. If you have your left foot forward though, it most likely will be easier to come to the right side, but if you need to switch around so you can see me, that's fine too. So then from here we're going to do these little side lunges, sometimes called ninja lunges. Sometimes in the Sanskrit they're called skandasana, which is also a neat term. And you can do these with support, so having your hands on the ground or on your thighs, just straightening one side or the other, or you can lift those arms and let the arms kind of float out to the side. Again, thinking about the swimming action, so bring the arms in front and then out to the side. If you feel any pressure in the shoulder, then it's very likely that you're pushing up against the shoulder joint, the blade, or the blade. And so just adjust the direction that your hands are moving, and then you might be able to work your way around that. And for many of us, that's all it takes, and then the pain or the discomfort in the shoulder can be alleviated. So then we're going to gently start bringing it a little bit higher up. And you're welcome, because this is a fluid flow. This is all about what you feel like doing right now. So you're welcome to bring it up high and bring it up above your head. Again, bringing the arm first in front and then rising it up and over. Or you might see some people doing something more like this, where they lift the long leg foot and coming down. Just kind of depends on what you feel like doing, what you want to stretch. So you can see how this can build a lot of strength, but it's also very fluid. So you're getting that stretch in as you're doing it. Moving from side to side, allowing your exhales to brace your lumbar spine so that your spine doesn't have to shift. The top part of our body can shift, but this lumbar spine from about your belly button down, it doesn't really shift very well. So we want to really make sure that we're aware that that's more for stability as we're doing our little twists here, movements. That feels so good. And then come to center. Allow your knees to basically straighten, but no locking. If they need to have a soft bend, that's totally fine. If you want to keep them soft, that's fine. If you want to have a block in front of you so that the floor is lifted up to you, that's always a good idea. And from here, we're just going to allow the head to lower down towards the ground. And you can stay still, or you can do what one teacher called Jackson Pollock painting with your hands, where you're just dragging your hands and your head and hair all along the floor. We are literally letting our hair down right now. And again, moving. So with fluid flows like this, it really is all about what is your body craving right now. And then we will slowly walk over towards the right side, turn the right foot out. So now it's the back foot that's low, that's in the behind, and then the left back knee is going to lower down gently towards the ground. So we made a circle. Taking a breath here for just a moment. And then we're going to gently bring that right foot back behind. The knees are back on the ground. We can reach those hands forward, coming down towards the floor. Take a breath. And walk those hands back up. And then we're actually just going to come into center, gently seated. So we'll grab with our right foot in towards our left hip, right knee is bent. We'll grab the left leg and bring it up and around. Just a gentle stretch. So this really isn't so much of a twist for your lower spine. It's actually more of just a twist for your upper chest and spine. And then you'll feel a stretch right here in your hip. So inhale, big, and then exhale. And on your exhale, you can gently lift those arms up and twist towards the left. If you're having to hold your twist with your hands, then you're twisting too far. It's just not worth it, and it's not going to help you any. So if you try to be able to lift your hands and stay in the twist, which means that you're using your muscular strength, which is what we all want, in order to hold your twist. And that's always a good thing. And then gently bring those arms back and around. Let's move that left foot over. We'll switch sides, but first I like neutralizing the hips. So just play with the legs a little bit, and then we'll switch sides. And you can see, I just lifted the right leg because sometimes when you're stretching something, it's easier to help move it while it's being stretched as opposed to try to engage the muscle and stretch it at the same time. Depending on where you are in your practice, it may or may not be the best idea. So at that moment, I just felt like moving it because all I wanted was a stretch, no strength. So my leg is up and tall. I'm going to inhale nice and big and then exhale so that I can strengthen the spine, and then I twist. So I stabilize my spine before I twist. And then I'm going to bring that back in to center. Shake that leg out. Bring that leg out. Open the legs wide. Give a nice little exhale and inhale. And then back into the movement. So we're just going to move it from side to side, running the fingers along the legs. Notice that this is a much more natural way to stretch and to move. So when you bring your left hand up along the right side leg, you'll be able to lift that left arm up and over and get into the side body on the left. And then lower that left hand down towards the right foot and walk the hands over to the other side. And same thing, in this case, the left hand is going to just hold on to the right foot. The right arm or right hand walks towards the left foot, stretches, and then reaches up as we turn the rib cage up. And then lower that hand, walk it back to center, and then just gently shifting from side to side. So overall, I'm hoping this was a nice relaxing practice for you. I know whenever I come to my mat and I just want to start moving, I always end up doing these simple fluid flows. I don't do anything really fancy because I just want to get the joints lubricated. That really is the goal overall. So I hope that you were able to do that today. We got your shoulders, we got your hips, we got into the knees. Remember, the knees only go one direction, they don't go all around. So let's lift those knees, bring the legs in, shift the hips. And then we are going to come onto our back because we have two more joints that we haven't lubricated yet, and they work in circles. So we're going to roll ourselves back onto the floor. First, place your feet on the floor flat, and then you're going to lift your wrists up towards the sky by lifting them up in front of your body, up towards the sky, and then just roll those wrists. So just for a moment, roll the wrists. Drawing pictures or circles with your middle fingers, and that will help to make little circles in the wrist. And then you're going to take your left thumb and your left index finger, place it around your right wrist, and just pull it up a little bit. Just do a little wrist clear, and then shake out that wrist. And then we'll try the other side. Thumb, index finger around the left wrist. Just pull it up a little bit, and then shake it out. And then lift your right leg, place your right ankle on your left thigh, and then start rolling your ankles. Our ankles get really a whole lot of weight and pressure just because of all of our standing position. And they're kind of tiny bones. It's the ankle joint and the wrist joints, they're not joints like the rest of our joints are, where there's definite form. They're kind of like, I've heard them described as bird bones. They're really small in comparison with how much weight they're actually carrying. So we're just going to shift that right ankle around and around, and then release it. Switch sides, moving that ankle. So this would be a good practice when you want to relax, or when you have just finished maybe one of the HIIT workouts or something like that, and you want a little bit more movement, but you don't have a lot of energy to expend, because you can always make the movements bigger. You could do anything from knees that was on knees. You can do that in plank version. Anything in plank, you can do on knees. And release that. Let's stretch those arms up above the head. Exhaling. Notice on your exhale how your whole body just kind of melts down into the floor. Then walk those legs slightly out. You can open them wide so the knees are out wide in a very loose cobbler's pose, if that feels good. You can even grab your blocks, place them under the knees or where the knees would be, and then brace the knees against those to have a gentle hip opening if that feels nice. We do want to have, if possible, the hands out and the palms up. That allows the shoulder blades to rest safely on the floor. Otherwise, what you do for the rest of your time is entirely up to you. You can rest completely out. You can add a little bit more movement, a little bit more shifting, whatever works. When you come out of it, I would recommend, though, if your knees are separated, bring the knees together, and then planting the feet flat. And before you lift up to the sky, I would recommend placing your hands beside your hips and just doing a little bridge, a little pelvic tilt or bridge, so that you make sure that your hips are totally stabilized before you either get up or go into your full Shavasana. So then from here is when you would go into your full Shavasana with legs out. Take a nice breath. And then when you're finished, simply roll to one side. Pressing away from the floor, because we're always stronger when we're pushing away from the floor, and come up to seated. So I hope you enjoyed this practice. that you get out whatever it is you wanted to get out from your practice, and let me know if you like more practices like this, more of the flows, the very fluid flows. And next time I'm looking into adding some more deeper chest openers. So that should be fun and hopefully engaging. Don't be afraid of them. Chest openers are fun. They're kind of back bends, but kind of not. But they are fun and they can be very safe. So anyway, so for next time, let me know what it is you're looking for, and we will do what we can to get it for you. See you then.